Hey peeps, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Chanel Blake, aka Vice Grip. And if you're with me from the last video, enough love, enough respect. And if you're new, welcome to Vice Grip's Perspective. We're going to continue our series that we had started with transition from high school to tertiary, and we're going to be talking about the culture shock that our international students tend to go through when they get here. So we're going to have some tips for the international students. Guys, if you hear like 1 and 2 bite man and I'm outside.
What?
Huh?
Alright, so before we kickstart this episode, I want to say much thanks and love to my friend Dana in Tobago, who really helped with putting this episode together, and Natalia in Bahamas. Guys, thanks, enough love, enough love, enough love. So we're going to talk about some of the things that would affect our international students. And when we talk about international students, we are talking about those persons who choose to go and study in a country that they don't reside or they're not a citizen. So there are some things that we overlook that they would oftentimes experience, and I'm hoping that for anyone who wants to go and study abroad, these tips will definitely help you in making your transition a little smoother when leaving home. So most times when you're actually going to study in another country, they tend to have a orientation process. I was talking about orientation, right? They tend to have an orientation process for international students, and it's usually like probably for 2 days. And so it would require you to get into the country before you would start studies, and this is basically just to give you some form of guideline and help you in terms of making that move from home into this new country, understanding the culture, understanding, you know, just some basic things that might be different from where you're coming from. So it's always good to go to your orientation as well. So find out when that is and make sure that you book your ticket in line for you to go to your orientation process. For sure, definitely when you're going to go to I think this is something you probably should do before you get to the country that you're going to study in. Ensure that you have all the contact information for the ambassador's office of your country and some form of representative for your country on the campus that you're going to. I'm guaranteed that there's at least going to be one person that you can talk to because you're an international student, and will be able to give you some form of guidance in terms of what you need to do in order to kickstart your journey in studying overseas. So there is always that recommendation for international students to stay on hall for the first year. This kind of helps with the culture shock because a lot of the activities and hall stuff that you might come across, they're going to be geared towards making you more comfortable in the culture and within the space and the new country that you're in. So it's always definitely good to try and live on hall, try live on campus for the first year, get some experience under your belt in terms of being in that country and experiencing that culture before you venture out. All right, so on most campuses for international students, they almost all the time tend to have a club or an association for international students, and I suggest strongly that you join this club or association that is related to your country. This is definitely going to help the culture shock, because let me tell you, you're going to experience a culture shock. You will, right? It will help your culture shock experience because then you would have persons from home who you can bond with, as my friends like to put it, bond over mutual hatred. Yeah, these student associations really do a good job in trying to let you feel like you have a piece of home with you. So definitely you should be a part of their association when you get on campus. As soon as you can after arriving in the country, try to get a local number. Like whatever country you're going to, get a local number because you're going to need to be able to talk to people, and those international charges and get a local number. Of course, as usual, you know that when it comes to all the transition from high school to tertiary videos, I always have bonus to give you. So the bonus is coming up. Definitely just stick around for that. That's at the end. You know, it's there. If you haven't already, definitely hit subscribe to Vice Grip's Perspective so you can keep up with what's going on and all the tips and everything. I know the recommendation is there that you should actually try to have a piece of home with you and basically be a part of the club or association related to your home. But what I do not want is for international students to try and stick to that group of people alone. it is very beneficial for you to have an open mind and open up and actually try to communicate with some of the persons that are local, because this is helpful in multiple ways, and I will give you all of that later down. The other thing that I want you to do is get familiar with the currency. You know, do the conversions, have a set number of conversions. It's okay, you know that 20 US dollars is this amount, or 10 Canadians equal to that amount. So just have some set figures in your head so you can always gauge what the currency difference is going to be like. So you get used to the currency and also open a local bank account. This will definitely be beneficial to you in more ways than one, because of course most times it's better to have a plastic card that you travel with as opposed to cash. Sometimes the cash is important, don't get me wrong, but you don't want to be walking with a lump sum of cash all the time. So when you have a card that you can use locally, that is very helpful for you. All right, so one of the things that I experienced a lot with my international friends that I had on campus when I was living on hall was they were oftentimes trying to understand the local dialect. Like, they'll be like, how do you say this in Patois? What does this mean? Wagwan, tough love, man, respect, that, you know. And hearing them actually say it was really pretty funny, but it did help us to bond a whole lot better, because they were also able to tell us about some of the things that they found weird. Let me tell you, the culture shock is really going to hit you real quick. Alright, so I'm going to get a little bit specific for our bonus section. I'm going to talk about here in Jamaica. If you are non-Commonwealth, you're going to need a visa. If you're Commonwealth, you don't need one. But regardless of whether or not you're Commonwealth or non-Commonwealth, there's definitely something that you're going to need as an international student, and this is what they refer to as the extension of stay. So in order to accomplish your extension of stay, you would have needed to go to the PICA office, which is the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency here in Jamaica, and you'd have to do that within 2 weeks of you arriving in the country, and they would give you your stamp to stay beyond your time for the duration of your studies. Now, if you're a non-Commonwealth person with visa requirements, you would receive what they term as the multiple entry visa, and so that gives you the opportunity to leave several times and come back in for the duration of your studies. You're going to need a valid passport no less than 6 months, the expiration date. You're also going to need your return ticket valid for 1 year, entry visa, your letter of registration from an educational institution registered by the Ministry of Education, addressed to the CEO of PICA, and also the required fee, which is not a lot as well, in order to secure your stamp. Of course, guys, like I said before, all of these different websites and sources that I've used for this video, I will put the link in the description below, so it's going to be there. Look out for it, it's there. Don't be afraid to do a bit of research, because you'll find that there's some words and some phrases that might mean something here, it's going to mean something totally different in another country. As I said before, a lot of what I talk about is going to be with regards to Jamaica, but I do understand that some of these concepts will apply elsewhere. So for example, you'd find that, you know, when we talk about hush, you might be referring to the fact that you hit your foot somewhere and you say, boy, hush, never mind, it's okay, it's okay. Whereas in hush means shut up. I've had that experience with a friend before. She was from Trinidad, and I'm just like, hush, never mind, it's okay. And she's like, did you just tell me to shut up? Did you just tell? I was like, huh? What? So it's also an experience for locals, you know, going through a culture shock with you, so don't feel like you're alone. We are just gonna be like slightly confused by how, you know, some things are done in your country. And like I said, have an open mind. There is no fully right or wrong way to doing things. There are multiple ways to get to an answer. So have an open mind to different cultures and just accept that some things are just gonna be the way they are. You'll find that fish and bula, yeah, those words mean total different things, depending on the context in which it is used. Like, of course, means total different things in another country. The fruits might be referred to differently as well. You might find that, okay, something is called apple here, but it's called something else in another country. Sometimes it's okay to do a little bit of research because you don't want to offend anyone. Just do a little bit. You might find some information there, or you can just ask somebody locally, like, hey, what are some of the words that you find that are different? Like, just ask some questions. Nothing is wrong with asking questions. You will get a far way in asking questions, guys. Earlier we talked about not wanting our international students to close themselves off from everyone and try to mix and mingle with our locals. And the reason why I said this is because one, you have an accent. Sometimes people will try to take advantage of you because of your accent, and if you have somebody that's local with you, they'll be there to help you sometimes when you're doing your shopping, to identify, okay, what might be expensive, what is considered cheap, because of course, you know, the cost of things varies depending on which country you're in. So they'll be a very good guide to that, and they will use their local dialect to help get you some good deals and stuff. But when you go with your accent and everything, they're gonna be like, oh, foreigner, them have money, let me just hike the price. People do that sometimes. It's not fair. Not all of them do it. Every once in a while you have one or two who will. So, you know, it's always good to have your local friend there to help you when you're shopping. And here's the thing that I've also noticed too, is when you have those short holidays like Easter break or something like that, my friends can't afford to go home. It's expensive to fly home for just 3 days. So they oftentimes tend to actually go and spend the holiday weekend or the little short holiday break with their local friends and experience the family, experience the culture, what the food is like. That's one of the major things I love about having that mix with my international friends. Like the food, the mix of culture with the food, and the experience and how you prepare this and how you prepare that. Yo, that's an experience. Trust me, that one's going to be real good. So that's one of the other reasons why you definitely want to make sure that you're open and you mix and mingle with everyone. So yes, have a piece of home, but try and make a home where you are as well. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you for sticking with me to the end of this video. Enough love, enough appreciation. If you haven't already, definitely hit subscribe, like, and share this video, and definitely comment and tell me some of the things that you went through and the culture shock that you experienced being an international student or with interacting with an international student. Of course, when life comes at you, you got to grip it, lock it, own it.